Well, good evening, everybody. I want to welcome you to this week's episode of the CBC Home Service Success Network. I'm Jerry Eisenhower, and this is Cheryl Eisenhower along with me. We're CBC Success Group, and tonight we're talking about a topic I bet every business owner wants the answer to. Is there a very real secret behind a successful business? Let me tell you something up front before we even get into this. Success is not luck. There is no overnight success stories. It's not accidental. And it's really not about working harder. Many times it's all about working smarter. There's thousands, hundreds of thousands of people across America. They work hard every single day trying to build a profitable, so scalable, and sustainable business. But what separates the people? Well, that's what we're going to talk about tonight because we got to break it down into what's needed. You got to have a clear vision. You got to have consistent action. You got to have great customer service. After all, if there's no customers, hey, there's no paychecks. You got to build your systems, your processes. You got to build the right team. And you got to have this relentless mindset because you're going to face chaos just about every day in your life if you're running a small business. So, if you're serious about building your business, you want to improve your profitability, building your leadership, and creating long term success, then this is what we've geared this broadcast to you. Grab a notebook. Hey, feel free to join us. Drop a comment in the chat and let's get started. So, Cheryl, what's your thought about this? This is one of my ideas, one of my concepts about the secret to success. What's your thoughts on this?
Well, a lot of people are just so busy that they don't have time to really plan anything. They're like little chickens running around. And without a plan, you can't have an action thing. I mean, you can go and go and go, but unless you know where you're going or you have that clear vision, I just don't think there's any way you're ever going to get where you're going.
Got you covered. So, to start off with, you got to have a clear vision. And that's one of the biggest problems that I often see in home service businesses. Most companies are operating day to day and they don't have a clear vision of where they're going. They're busy, they're working, but they're not working strategically. They're reacting instead of acting. They're not leading. A successful business owner, they got to know where they are, where they want to go, and how they're going to get there. You got to have that vision. Without vision, your business becomes chaos. It produces chaos. A clear vision means the following: you've got to define what your goals are. Do you know who your target customer is? What is your niche? Do you understand your company's culture? Have you built your company culture? Do you have standards? Do you have systems? Have you built a roadmap for growth? Do you know where you're going to be in 12 months, 24 months, 36 months? The companies that win, the ones that have the secret sauce, they know what they stand for. They know who they're serving. They know what success looks like. And let me tell you, if you don't define your company culture and vision, your employees are going to define it for you. And that's where it gets real dangerous. You need vision for revenue goals, hiring goals, customer experience, leadership development, operational systems. Vision gives you the direction you need. Direction creates the focus, and the focus is what creates results. So, what do you think about that, Cheryl? Would you agree with what I've just said?
I totally agree. I mean, a lot of times people are so far out of it and they can't stay consistent and their vision gets all warped up. And I think that's where people lose themselves. And it's not easy. I mean, it's one of the hardest things in business to do is to stay focused on what you're doing because there's so many things nowadays drawing you away from it. So, um, you have got to stick with it and you can't give up. And I think that's a lot of it. People give up their vision too quick.
That's it. You've got to be consistent. You've got to sustain what you're doing. And this is where so many businesses fail. Deep down inside, they know what they need to do. They just don't consistently do it. They just don't consistently do it. Consistency is a separator. Everybody get motivated for a few days. I've often seen people go to a meeting, go to a gathering, they get motivated for a few days, but they don't stay disciplined week after week after week, month after month, year after year. You can't build a successful business if you're inconsistent, if you're constantly changing your direction, and if you just throw your hands up and quit when things get difficult. Businesses that grow, they understand this. Small, consistent actions create massive long term results. I've often said that's one of the principles of lean. Every day to be a little better than you were yesterday. That's one of the goals. So ask yourself, are you consistent in your marketing, in your training, your follow up, your customer communication, your leadership, and your financial management? The companies winning today aren't necessarily smarter. They might just be more disciplined. And here's a hard truth. You cannot build trust with customers or employees if you're inconsistent, if you don't sustain what you're doing. When you have consistency, you create confidence in your workforce and in your customer base. That means you show up every day. You're following through. You're keeping your standards high. You're doing what you said you do when you said you were going to do it. Success isn't built in one big moment. It's built through thousands and thousands of disciplined decisions. Back to you, Cheryl. What's your thoughts there with what I just said?
They're all good. I think there's two things that I think really hurt a company when they're not consistent. And the first one is marketing. I see so many people that only market the moment they need someone. They're not in the public, they're not in the view the whole time. I mean, you have to market consistently to keep your names on the books. There's so many people and so many companies out there now. Unless you're one in the forefront and you're embedded in someone's mind, they're just going to go to the phone book and find someone else. And another one, and this is my forte, you know how it goes, the hiring consistency. People only hire when they're afraid and when somebody quits. So we're really working to try to get companies now to keep hiring up and consistent, keep someone in the background to go into that position if you have someone go. Without that and keeping that consistency, your level of employees are up and then they're down and they're up and they're down, and they're usually down when you need them the most.
That's it. One of the things that we promoted is you got to build a second string. You never know when somebody's going to quit. You never know when somebody's going to get hurt. Any number of things. We never know who's going to be here tomorrow. So you got to build that second string up. Just like Cheryl said, recruiting is an ongoing, never-ending process. Because what we see is we lose somebody and then people go into panic mode and they start doing desperation hiring. So Cheryl, when people are doing desperation hiring, what's the usual results?
They get them, they pay them a while, they leave. It's just that way. Or if they have to or think they have to have them, they'll keep them, and they're paying someone just to fill somebody's shoes, not to be productive. And so if you hire out of desperation, it's 1 in 1,000,000 chances you're going to find a good employee.
Yep. So what's the next thing you got to have? What's the next ingredient in that secret sauce? It's called great customer service. This can be one of the biggest game changers in business. When you've got great customer service, your people are buying the following. They're buying your experience, your trust. They trust you. The communication processes that you use with people, the professionalism, the confidence. In today's world, Customer experience is everything. And the companies that dominate their markets understand this. Technical skills, yeah, they'll get you in the door. Customer experience, what keeps customers coming back. Jeffrey Gitmer wrote a book one time, and the name of the book was Satisfied Customers Are Worthless. What you've got to shoot for is the loyal customers, the ones that do business with you over and over again. And tell their friends, you got to try my guy. You got to try my guy. They do a great job. And the companies that dominate their markets, they understand this. They understand it quick because this is what keeps the customers coming back. You can be the greatest technician in town, but if your communication skills are poor, your customer service weak, or your team doesn't create trust, you're going to lose customers. Not only that, you're going to get bad reviews. You're not going to get testimonials. So what do these successful customers focus on? They're focusing on clear communication, professional experience, fast response time. They believe in educating their customers, solving problems, building relationships. These are all things that I've worked in training for years to do. Right now, I've been presenting a class. It's entitled Turning Technicians into Trusted Advisors. Your technicians must become trusted advisors, not just service techs. That means they're educating your customers. They're explaining solutions. They're building confidence. And they're helping customers make the smart decisions they need to make. You see, your customers want to feel well cared for. They actually want honesty. They want professionalism. And the companies that deliver this kind of experience, they're going to win. I saw an interesting thing today. Chick-fil-A is entering the home service market in the Atlanta, Georgia market into a handyman service. And when you look at it, look at where Chick-fil-A has taken itself. If they bring those processes into home service, it's going to be unreal. So, Cheryl, what'd you think about all that?
Well, communication's my one big gripe. That it's a lost art. Nobody knows how to do it anymore, and the people that do know how to do it get where they're going. The thing about it is we don't a lot of times see people hiring, our companies hiring people because they can communicate. They don't seem to think that that's as important as the technical. So when the thing I like to do when I'm hiring, if you can't, I'll ask questions. If you can't communicate with me on this screen, then you can't communicate to a customer. So that's what we're all doing. I mean, you and I know that we've had people in our homes. They come in, if they talk to us, even though we know what they're saying, we know what they're doing, it makes you trust them, and you know how to deal with them. And I think that's the art that the employer is missing, is making sure that their technicians can communicate. They need to give them some classes on communication, because without it, I do not think a company will ever make it.
That's it. And that's what we've always called the soft skills. A lot of times we key on the technical skills. We've also got to teach our people about the soft skills. So, what's the next ingredient in the recipe of success? Systems and processes. That's a big one right there. I've written articles, I've written books on this, but that's a biggie. Most businesses are built around people. Successful businesses are built around system. If someone leaves your employment or misses work and the business completely falls apart, you don't have systems. Systems create consistency. They create efficiency, scalability, accountability. I've often said that when there's a mistake happens in a company, there's three reasons for that mistake. Number one, there is no system. Number two, the system is wrong. And number three, somebody didn't follow the system. Now, there's a lot of reasons why they didn't follow the system. Maybe they didn't understand it. Maybe they weren't trained at the level to follow the system. But you got to have systems for every part of your business: scheduling, dispatching, customer communication, doing the job, doing the technical work, sales, follow up, in your hiring, your training, and you got to have financial tracking for you. You got for systems for that. See, systems remove the confusion that a lot of companies are operating with every day. And this is something that's very important. The goal is not to create a business that depends on you for every decision. The most valuable business that you will ever run will be the business that does not need you there. That's when you truly have a company of value. The goal to build a business that can operate efficiently because the systems are strong. When the systems improve, stress and chaos decrease. Productivity is going to increase. Profitability improves and customer satisfaction improves. And your systems are what allows your business to scale because your system should be built to build the business of your dreams, not for the business it is today, but the business you're going to develop it into. So, Cheryl, your turn. What's your points here?
My number one point is people don't keep their systems up. They write them, they get them down. That's something you have to be consistent with is your systems, because if not, the world's changing, your company's changing, everything in front of you are changing. Again, you just said it. You want to build the company that you see in the future. So to do that, your systems have to be set up for what's going on now and what's going to be happening in the future. And you need to stay on them. I see so many people that write their SOPs or their systems, whatever you want to call them, and they never look at them again to bring them up to date. And I think that's one of the biggest pitfalls is when you tell people that they need systems, they do, but they also need to have systems that grow. And to me, that's one of the biggest faults with the systems. They're not kept up.
Dead on the money. And that's one of the things that we promote is to have a morning meeting to go over yesterday's performance, to go over yesterday's mistakes. And what was the reason? Was it because of lack of systems? Was it because the systems are wrong? They didn't grow with the company? Or did somebody simply not follow the system? But you got to have the right team. You can't build a great business with the wrong people. And please listen carefully to the next one. I want this one to really drive it home. It only takes one toxic employee that can destroy morale, customer experience, and company culture. Successful companies understand people are everything. Your team members, they got to have the right attitude. You got to have leaders who can communicate well. You got to have employees willing to grow. And you got to have people aligned with your customers. Remember this, it's been said so many times by so many consultants, so many speakers. Skills can be trained. Attitude is a whole lot harder to fix. So, what do the best companies do? They invest in training, they develop leadership, they develop leaders, they create accountability, they build a strong culture, and they reward performance. Here's the big thing: employees want leadership, they want accountability, they want direction, they want purpose. When your people feel valued and supported, the performance improves dramatically. A strong team creates momentum. Momentum creates growth. And momentum is what takes you to the level that you dream of to take your business to. So, Cheryl, your thoughts on that?
It is. You're exactly right. And I think that people need to listen to what you just said completely over, because I think that's where a lot of people fall. And we can't, without having that and keeping your employees successful, they're not going to be happy. And if they're not happy, they're going to leave. Successful people do not leave companies. And it's usually because they're not getting anywhere. They haven't been shown exactly what to do. And we end up putting them, putting them down is not the word. We end up popping them on the back of the hands for things that they never knew. So I think every owner needs to turn around and look at what he has and what he needs to show his people to make that company run as he wishes.
That's it. So, what's the final ingredient? That's you. This is the final ingredient. That is your mindset. And it's got to be relentless. Because I'm going to tell you, every business owner, they face challenges, they have setbacks, they have stress, financial pressure, employee issues, and difficult customers. The big difference is with the right mindset, successful leaders don't quit. They adapt, they learn, they stay focused. So, as a person who wants to, that yearns for that success, you got to develop a relentless mindset. You stay positive during challenges, continuing to improve, being coachable, learn from your mistakes. As John Maxwell says, fail forward, maintaining the discipline. Your mindset is going to impact your leadership, your team, your customers, your company culture. Negativity will spread. A toxic employee in your team, I'm going to tell you just like it is. This is a word I learned from Cheryl. They are an energy vampire. They are sucking the lifeblood right out of you and everyone else in that company. Strong leaders create strong organization. And as you grow, remember, it's going to be uncomfortable at times. Charlie Quayle, when he was living, one time told me, Jerry, making these changes I've made as many times just like walking on glass. So, Cheryl, what would you address there? Would you add anything about the energy vampire? Because I learned that term from you.
You know, if you've never felt it, you've never been paying attention, because you can actually feel a person sucking it out of you, and out of your company. They're sucking it out of your employees. They're it's just people that need something that they're not getting, and I don't know what possesses it, but maybe I'm just too sensitive to it. But I think everyone, if they pay attention, it's not hard to find the energy vampire in your company. Usually, it's the one that actually no one. I don't want to say no one likes, but no one respects, and they just take it out of everything. But mindset's everything, and I do mean everything. Without it, you cannot progress. And growth's uncomfortable, and that's the part about when you start scaling up. It's uncomfortable. It's something that you're not used to. Change is something that most people don't particularly like, and your employees definitely don't like it. So you've got to get them on board. You've got to get not just your mindset, but your employees' mindset where it needs to be. If you've got a team of people that are all on the same track, there's no stopping the boat.
There you go. So, tonight we've talked about the secret sauce behind a successful business. And to be honest with you, it's not a secret. It's really not. It's written in books, it's written in motivational speakers, so many places. It's not luck, it's not shortcuts, and it's definitely not magic. What it requires in order for you to go where you want to go is you got to have the following. Do you have a clear vision of what you want? Are you consistent? Do you sustain your actions? Do you have great customer service? Are your systems strong? Do you have the right team, or are you making plans to adjust that team and possibly replace the B and C grade players with A level players? You got to have a relentless mindset. You see, these are the things that truly separate struggling businesses from thriving businesses. And that's what we do here at CV Success Group. We work with home service companies across America, help them improve their profitability, build their leadership, strengthen operations, develop systems, grow strong team, and create long-term success. So, if you're ready to move to that next level, hey, we'd love to have a conversation with us. Really would. You can reach out to myself or Cheryl at any time. We'd be glad to have a conversation with you and see if we're the right fit to take you to where you want to go. So, Cheryl, anything you want to add before we bow out of here this evening?
I just want people to look forward and think where they're going, keep their track on, and don't lose sight of the vision. I mean, you remember the vision boards. If you have to have a vision board to get where you're going, put one up, because if that's something you need, is to have a path literally written in front of you. Do what it takes. Do what it takes for you. Do what it takes for your employees. And get where, like you said, you don't need to be in the company.
That's it. Build a company that you're not needed. That company will operate without you. It'll be the best disability policy, the best life insurance policy, the best way for you to protect your family and move forward. And with that, we're going to end tonight's episode. If you're watching us live, we really appreciate you being on here. And if you're watching us on the replay, again, we appreciate it. It's truly an honor. It's a privilege, and it's a pleasure to be able to speak to people out there every week like this and to get our message out. This is Jerry Eisenhower, Cheryl Eisenhower, signing out for this week. We'll see you next week on the next episode of the CBC Home Service Success Network. Thank you once again for being here with us tonight.